Now we will start with our keynote addresses for the day. And for the first address, it's my pleasure to call here Dr. Abhay Jere to deliver a national perspective on envisioning India as a skill capital of the world and what's the roadmap that is envisioned. Over to you, sir.
Good morning. First, I would really like to thank APAC for inviting me for this 4th National Skill Conclave. It's held in my city. I am basically from Pune. मी पुणेकर आहे स्वतः. त्यामुळे मला त्याचा जास्त अभिमान आहे. Also, Government of Maharashtra is partnering. So I would like to thank them for organizing this in Pune. As you are aware that I represent organization called as AICT, All India Council for Technical Education. And we are more of a regulatory body. And nowadays we are trying to call ourselves even a facilitatory body. And the area which we primarily regulate or we are involved with is technical education. So we have around 12,000 institutions under us, and currently the number of students are about 10 million or so at any given time point. But as we are dealing with technical education also, our institutions are an integral part of skill building. And from that perspective, role of AICT in pushing skill, especially future of skills, aggressively, is extremely very critical. And we are quite aware of it. As you are aware, that now we have already started talking about Industry 5.0. Industry 4.0 is a gone thing now. Already 5.0 has come to forefront. And if we really look at what is Industry 5.0, and if we have to have our manpower skilled from an Industry 5.0 perspective, then we have to look very aggressively and very, very out of box on how we are going to come with our policies or how we are going to completely redefine our skilling initiatives. I don't know how many of you are aware of Industry 5.0? Just raise your hand. So few. And it's different from Industry 4.0 in a sense. But for some of the people who are not aware of Industry 5.0, it's going to be a seamless kind of a man-machine interaction. And to further differentiate it, they say that it's going to be human-centric. The entire value system or the value chain of industry is going to be human-centric, human well-being centric, those kind of things. But the integrated part is going to be AI, robotics, and so on and so forth. And it is, as I said, it is going to be a seamless kind of an interaction. So, if we have to actually create a workforce of that nature, then we need to ensure that our youngsters are well equipped with these critical elements like AI and ML, IoT, and how they can be used for predictive analytics in a seamless fashion. So at AICT also now, we have decided to start an AI mission, AI training mission. And we are exploring not only just national but international partners also. Because what we believe with AI now at AICT is it should be AI, all Indians. You know? We have to actually ensure that we ride that wave in a very big way. So for the next couple of years, we have taken a target of training 5 lakh students in not just introductory AI, but generative AI in an advanced way. So we have set up a very senior committee also, which is currently looking into it. And you will have some big announcements in next couple of months from that perspective. Anyway, at a central level, at a university levels and at district levels, we have already started doing a lot of faculty development programs and so on and so forth in AI. Apart from that, we have come up with large number of quality improvement programs. Because if we have to have a skilled labor or a skilled human resource, then we also need to ensure that we have skilled trainers, skilled faculty members. And from that perspective, now what we have done is that we have collaborated with about top 50 tier institutions of this country, which includes Tata Fundamental Research, CDAC, all IITs and so on and so forth, NITs. Such 40, 50 institutions we have looked into. And there, we have started a specialized QIP program for our faculty members, especially in these emerging areas. And it's a 6-month aggressive faculty development program, not just 4 or 5 days or, they have to go there, they have to stay there. And we are actually taking care of all the expenses. We are paying everything. Because on one side, the rush for these skilling courses is really very high. But on the other side, we are not really getting great faculty members to actually train these kind of students at this scale. What we have actually delivered in terms of engineering education, we have to ensure we do it in terms of skilling also for the world. Because we at AICT now believe that we have, we means India. India has delivered engineering education to the world, Every year, just from AICT institutions, we are generating about 1.5 million students, graduates, they are passing out as engineers. Okay? And globally, if you look at all the companies, on the contrary, if you just look at IITs or NITs, the number of graduates which they churn out is somewhere around 15,000, 20,000, not more than that. But AICT institutions, 1.5 million. See the difference. And if you really look at who is pursuing engineering, majority of the students are from AICT institutions. And the best example of this, and we all are proud of, is Chandrayaan. You might have looked at who are the people who actually delivered Chandrayaan. It's all AICT institutions. If you really look at profiles of all the scientists, technicians working in the team, they were all from tier 2, tier 3 organizations. Not a single one from IIT or NIT. Actually, Washington Post did a story on it. Okay? And if you look at all the global companies, in all of the global companies, you will see AICT institution, students from AICT institution. Although people can talk about what is the employability of some of these What are the skills associated with some of the graduates which are coming out from these colleges? Those questions, yes, are there. They are relevant. We are aware of it. We are working on it. But we cannot go ahead and deny that we have not delivered engineers to the world. We have done that. And see the kind of appointments which are currently happening globally at a very senior level. Majority of them are from Indian institutions. So same thing we have to do when it comes to skilling. And we are very, very sensitive towards it. And if you really look at this year's our approval process also, we have given default approval to all the colleges for promoting skilling courses or doing skilling courses. We have introduced two major programs which I would like to discuss here, and you will be very happy to know them also. And then I will stop. One program is for working professionals. पहले तो ये चलता था ना कि एक रेगुलर डिग्री है, एक पार्ट टाइम डिग्री है, एक फुल टाइम डिग्री है, एक वीकेंड डिग्री है, ऐसे सब नॉमेनक्लेचर्स होते थे. ये सब हमने हटा दिए हैं. We don't care whether you study on Saturdays or Sunday or in the evening or in the morning, and with now flexi hour timings, all the degrees will be called as regular degrees. They will be in par, whether you do it as a regular student or as a working professional. So, first major change which we have got is actually allowing also removing these kind of nomenclatures. Then, we have given approval to more than 500 institutions to actually run separate batches if required with additional supernumerary seats for working professionals. But a couple of weeks back or 3 weeks back, we again made one small change, but it is quite a revolutionary change, is that now we are going to allow students who are working, means working professional, to study along with regular students in the same batch, same class, and take courses along with those students. Means, for example, if I have to take a six months course on AI, maybe in third semester, and it is offered in third semester of BE AI, or BTech AI, I can go ahead and attend the class with the same students, sit and do same assignments with them, and get a certificate. And we are allowing colleges to give those certificates, because if you have to go give degree and those kind of things, then universities come into picture. But we are saying, don't worry about the degree part, just take certificates, just go courses. So that now colleges will start offering courses as separate entity, and they can make revenue out of it also. Because if I have done BE in mechanical, and then now I want to reskill myself, because now, as I say at many places, our professional careers are going to be not of 35 years or 40 years, but they are going to be 45, 50 years. We graduate at 22nd, 23rd age, and then we have to work, or we will work till 70, 75. Because our lifespans are actually increasing. So if our professional careers are going to be of 45 years, 50 years, then there are a lot of reports which have published which are saying that we will end up changing our complete career thrice. And if you have to change our career thrice, then there is going to be a lot of upskilling which needs to be, or reskilling has to be done. And if you have to do that upskilling and reskilling, then we have to come back to colleges again and again. you know. So the business model of colleges are also going to change. And currently, I don't know how many colleges are really getting ready for all that. Means currently, now the colleges are focusing on 4 years, 5 years kind of a promotion where they are thinking that their clientele is going to be students or youngsters from 18 years to 22 years. But maybe our colleges might have to actually sell a subscription model for next 30 years or 40 years. Where they say, okay, go back, take a job, complete your degree, then take a job, go back, may work for 10 years, come back again for a year-long course or a couple of years course or maybe 6 months kind of and then again maybe go back, work for 5-6 years, again come back, you know. So these kind of subscription models might also colleges have to develop. So the entire scenario is going to be very, very different moving forward. And I always like the analogy of banking sector to education sector, and I will give that analogy and I will stop, is that 25 years back, we know how banking was and what were our experiences with bank, you know. But in last 25 years, the banking has changed so much, we hardly go to our banks. It means that we require banking, we may not require banks. On similar lines, we will require education, but we may not require educational institutes in current format. So, the skilling part, the education part now need not be separate. They need to be fully integrated. And the institutes need to be sensitive towards not just offering 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months kind of a skilling program. Maybe, as I said, a subscription model for reskilling, upskilling for maybe 15 years or 20 years, you know. And those kind of models, if we can develop, and that ecosystem if we can create, then only we will able to actually do what we are saying, that we can actually give skilled manpower to the entire world. So thank you very much once again for giving me this opportunity and listening to me very patiently.
Thank you, sir, for emphasizing 2-3 points. One, the importance of involving, integrating the skilling part with the education and the reskilling or upskilling happening in that way. So not looking at it separately, and I like the last analogy of what banking was maybe a couple of decades back, if we can change the paradigm of skilling also accordingly. Great.